Hello friends, welcome to a new episode of Drishti IAS Editorial Analysis. In this editorial analysis, we do three things. First of all, we link the editorial to the UPSC syllabus. Secondly, we try to understand the key points of the editorial. And thirdly, if any important concept has come in the editorial and is important from exam point of view, we also discuss that. So let us begin today's editorial analysis. We have taken today's editorial from the Hindu and it has appeared on 5th of June. The title of the editorial is Killing Gaja, and it talks about a culture of exploitation led to the painful death of an elephant in Kerala. So it is talking about the recent incident of killing of an elephant in Kerala, which has drawn widespread condemnation across the country for the way in which the elephant was killed. Now let us look at its linkage with the syllabus. So it links directly with GS paper 3, where we have biodiversity and environment as important topics. And under this, the subtopics are conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and environmental impact assessment. So after establishing this link with the main syllabus, now let us look at the key points of the editorial. So before moving to the key points of the editorial, let us have a look at where this incident actually happened. So this is the map of Kerala, and we can see that there are 14 districts in Kerala, and this incident happened somewhere around Palakkad and Mallapuram area. And this incident came to light when a forest officer wrote about this incident in his Facebook post, and then it caught the attention of the national media and the news became viral on the social media, drawing widespread condemnation from animal lovers and almost all the people of India who were shocked by the brutality of this killing. And this animal was found to be sick, and the forest officers tried to save it using a kumki elephant. Now here we should know what is a kumki elephant. So kumki elephants are the captive elephants which are used to capture the wild elephants. But before the forest department could rescue the elephant, it died of the injuries suffered by it. And only after the autopsy of the elephant, it was discovered that the elephant was also pregnant and its jaw was broken. And it was presumed that the elephant had died after biting a pineapple filled with explosives. And though it has shocked many people across the country, but this seems to be a common practice for killing wild boars who normally raid the plantations and cultivated areas which are on the fringe of forested areas. So this trap, which was maybe laid to trap wild boars, was eaten by the elephant and it suffered that injury. And this point, whether it was intentionally done by the people to kill the elephant or it was just meant to kill the wild boars, it is besides the point, because it deals with the issue of animal cruelty and the encroachment of the forest land by people. Though such barbaric practices are punishable under the wildlife laws as well. And the state government has now ordered a high-level inquiry to find out who are the people behind this incident. And the major problem remains that the people often encroach upon forests and start cultivation in the forest fringe areas, and it is but natural for the animals to stray onto such human habitation to find food because their feeding lands are getting smaller by the human encroachment. And this gives rise to the human animal conflict. And in Kerala, if we talk about the 2018-19 statistics, 24 people were killed by elephants and 12 people were killed in tiger attacks. So these numbers show that the man-animal conflict is increasing and man is responsible for the increase in such incidents. And in 2015, the government of Kerala had proposed to provide licensed firearms to farmers to shoot the wild boars who raid the cultivated lands. But this proposal was withdrawn after opposition from the forest department. And we have already seen the kumki elephant refers to those captive elephants which are used to trap wild elephants. And Mahat is the elephant handler. Now let us move on to the key points of the editorial. So the editorial lays the blame for this killing of the elephant on a culture of exploitation that is present all over India. And this has resulted in the death of this elephant. And it also talks about the treacherous use of the food bomb, the pineapple laced explosives, which led to the injury suffered by the elephant. And that has resulted in anger and revulsion among the people. And it actually does not matter much whether the food bomb was meant for the elephant or for the wild boars, because ultimately it was meant to kill a wild animal. And the editorial says that such traps are spread across the forested areas encroached by the growing human population. And this gives rise to man-animal conflict because of the rising commercial pressures, which is further diminishing the already decreased habitats of the wild animals. And that becomes especially problematic for an animal like elephant, which travels long distances. And their corridors of travel or migration are now getting encroached by the people. And the editorial also makes this point that the perpetrators of this crime might get punished, but the bigger issue of habitat destruction still remains. And according to a count, there are around 30,000 elephants in India. But there is absence of strong policies which are based on scientific studies to encourage soft landscapes and migrating passages to reduce conflict. So many times what is happening that elephant corridor is spread in an area, but due to some development like a highway passing through that corridor, what happens is the habitat of the elephant gets fragmented and the elephant population suffers on account of that, and it also increases the chance of man-animal conflict. So the editorial says that the readiness on the part of government and the big businesses to exploit forested areas needs to be checked urgently. And it also gives an example of that during the lockdown in April, when all the activities were shut, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it convened meetings of the National Board for Wildlife and Expert Appraisal Committee to clear projects in the protected areas. And one notable project among these is the Dehing Patkai Elephant Reserve, which has been opened for coal mining. And this is important from prelims point of view. This is in Assam. And here we should know that scores of elephants killed every year due to multiple reasons. There are a lot of accidental deaths of elephants due to being hit by the trains on railway tracks. Then there is also the risk of poaching, where the poachers kill elephants for their ivory tusks. And the major reason is the habitat loss of elephants, where due to developmental projects, the habitat is getting fragmented. It is compressing their population into smaller areas, which causes problems like reducing their breeding opportunities, decreasing their population, and limiting their genetic variability, which ultimately affects the survival of elephants as a species. No doubt there is also this risk of crop damages due to the activities of elephants. But then that is on account of encroachment of the forested areas. And another reason is an elephant herd can satisfy all its dietary requirements for 24 hours by spending just 7 to 8 hours in a cultivated field. So once elephants also get used to raiding these cultivated fields, they also get addicted to it. And this also leads to more and more animal-human conflict, which leads invariably to the death of wild animals. The editorial also mentions about the Madhav Gadgil committee report, and this report is very important from exam point of view. Now this report had called for entire Western Ghats to be classified as ecologically sensitive and spared of any destructive development. But this report was not accepted by the political parties cutting across the spectrum, because all the political parties want development to happen and because they have their vote banks to protect. Plus they are getting funding from the big businesses. So it was not as per their liking. And the editorial makes the point that as long as the dominant view remains that of seeing natural landscapes as nothing more than a resource to be exploited for minerals and cash crops, elephants and other animals will have little chance of escaping the deadly conflict, where there is going to be only one loser, and that is mankind. In the long run and in the short term, the animals will pay with their lives. So this is a very sorry state. Finally, the editorial suggests a way forward, that the government should make it very clear that the 5% protected habitat in India should be free from any kind of intrusions by human beings, and this needs to be strictly enforced. Also, the farmers who are normally poor and suffering from the raids by the wild animals, they need better compensation schemes so that they do not indulge in activities which ultimately cost the lives of animals. So they need to be protected, and the animals also need to be protected. And finally, there needs to be a shift in the mindset where protecting animals has to get precedence over prospecting for minerals in the forest areas, because this will only enrich people in the long term and save our precious biodiversity. So this was all in the key points of the editorial. Now let us look at the key concepts. In key concepts, let us look at Project Elephant. Now it is a central sponsored scheme and it was launched in February 1992 these are important facts from prelims point of view. And it deals with the protection and management of elephants. It is similar to Project Tiger, which is intended to save tigers. And it ensures protection of elephant corridors and elephant habitat. Now here we should know that there are 28 states in India. Out of these, 16 have wild elephants. And these are primarily found in 4 regions of India: Western Ghats, Northeast India, Central India and Northern India. And the elephants are protected under Schedule 1 of the Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972. This is the highest protection that an animal gets. And according to 2017-18 data, Karnataka has the highest elephant population, followed by Assam and Kerala. An elephant has also been declared as the National Heritage Animal in 2010. And in India, we have 32 elephant reserves. This is also an important fact that we should know. And the first one to be established was the Singhbhum Elephant Reserve in Jharkhand. So this is also an important prelims fact. So this map shows the human encroachment and habitat destruction have exerted constant pressure on the elephant corridors. And which are the major elephant corridors in India? So we have in the northern region, we have in the Western Ghat region, we have it in the central and eastern portion and the northeast India. Now let us have a look at the kind of questions that can be asked in prelims and mains. So in prelims, one can be asked about Project Elephant, in which year it was started, which is the first elephant reserve to be established under Project Elephant, and what are the total number of elephant reserves, and so on. Then about this particular incident also it can be asked, which state, which district this incident took place. And one should be aware about the elephant census, which happens once in 5 years and it is done under Project Elephant only. And the count of elephants around 30,000 and the leading states in the elephant population. So these kind of facts one should be knowing. And moving on to mains, the basic question that can be asked is about man-animal conflict. What are the factors which are leading to man-animal conflict and what are the steps that can be taken to counter it? Then a question can also be asked about sustainable development. So how do we strike a balance between the needs for development and the need for conserving the natural resources and the natural environment and biodiversity? And a question can also come about Project Elephant, about its successes and failures in achieving its objectives. So this was all in today's editorial analysis. We'll see you next time with another editorial. Thank you.